What's up, guys? Leyton here. Just before the breakdown, I just want to let you know we're doing another giveaway. So just follow the rules on the screen and smack a comment down below. It's free to enter, so you may as well do it. Yeah, enjoy the breakdown, guys. Sweet.
And welcome to episode number 19 of UFC Addicts. We are here to break down UFC Fight Night from Phoenix, Arizona. My name is Aaron, and I'm here as always with my co-host Leyton. What up, buddy?
What up, bro? What up? Okay, so before we get into discussing Australia, recently I had an 11-point lead over you. You just hit 11 out of 11 on Australia, and now the lead is down to 6 points. So I'm getting a little bit scared. You're catching me up a little bit.
That was 11 out of 11 in case anybody only had one earphone in or didn't, and didn't hear that. That is 11 out of 11 fights. That's 100% according to my math.
Yeah,
which is pretty tough to do.
That's a legit card. That's a legit card. And beautiful profit.
You had a pretty good profit yourself.
I think I had like a 7-fight parlay, like a 4-fight parlay. Yeah, beautiful profit. So talking points: Devontae Smith, perfect. Jalen Turner, perfect. Ricky Simone. I mean, that performance was just wow. That is the best he's ever looked in the octagon. Just unbelievable. Ricky Simone, man, just came in 10-11 and just demolished Ronnie Yaya. And 8 shots too. And that chin, the head movement, the conditioning, his wrestling when he needed it, just Ricky Simone, man, real prospect at 135.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously we can all point to Stylebender, which it was a good enough fight. It wasn't terrible at all.
Yeah,
and
Anderson looked pretty good. I said, he'd kind of play him at his own game, and didn't buy into his games in round 3 up against the fence. For me, Adesanya, I've seen a couple people tweeting like Chris Weidman saying he's a tad bit overrated, but he fought the perfect fight. He didn't buy into Anderson's game. He looked great. The leg kicks, the movement, everything. He just, fight by fight, stylistically, every fight's different. And in my eyes, Adesanya was perfect.
Yeah, and Anderson didn't look bad either. And I think, if anything, if this causes the upper middleweights to believe they can stand with Israel Adesanya, I think that is going to blow up right in their face. If Paulo Costa somehow gets by Romero, which that's going to be just an absolute barrage of violence, that fight. But if these, upper middleweights, if Chris Weidman, if they all believe they can stand with Israel, that is not going to pay off in their favor. I think Anderson is one of the few guys who could stand with Israel Adesanya at this point for 3 rounds. So props to Anderson, props to Ricky Simone, of course. He's one of my favorite prospects, and he's looked better and better from his Contender Series fight to now his UFC debut, to the Montel fight, to now this fight against Yaya. He was opened up by a headbutt, didn't lose his composure at all from it, and just kept keeping on. That wrestling is going to be tough for a lot of 135ers, and I'd love to see Devontae Smith and Jalen Turner go at it with each other.
Yep, that'd be a great fight.
I mean, that is just to open up a pay-per-view. I think that would be brilliant. So overall, I'm seeing some people say they didn't love the card, but when you go 100%, it's hard to say you didn't care for how the card. I loved
it, man. I thought it was a great card.
I thought it was a good card, top to bottom. One of the funnier moments for me was definitely when Austin Arnett got dropped at the end of the Shane Young fight. And if you can go back and catch the last, I believe it was like in the last 10 seconds of the fight, he gets dropped with an overhand right, and it's literally yelling as he goes to the ground.
It was like that punch dropped him, and he was so angry, like, oh, wow, like, I was about to win a 30-27, and now he wins the 30-27. Like, he put up a good fight, and he had nice jabs, but defensively, like, he was terrible. Like, everything.
I will
landed to
say
the body.
Austin Arnett does not lack confidence in Austin Arnett. I will say that much. Just definitely an interesting card in Australia. We move on to Phoenix, and we've got, I'll say, a unique card here. The main event is going to be an interesting one, and there's some fighters appearing out of nowhere on this card from like 2016 who are fighting again. So it's good to see some fighters coming out of the woodwork. But I'm ready to jump into this. What about you?
Let's do it, bro. Let's do it.
All right, we are starting at 115 with Alexandra Albu and Emily Whitmire. Emily Spitfire Whitmire. That rhymes. So, props to her. I will be breaking down Miss Emily Whitmire, which actually, you want to go ahead and break down Albu first?
I'll take her.
Get in after. Go ahead.
Okay, so Albu comes into this fight 2-0 inside the UFC. She debuted in 2015, won that debut. Then she went on to fight Kaylin Curran in 2017. And now she's fighting again in 2019. So, yeah, debuted in 2015, and she's on to her third fight, which is 4 years later. She's the first Russian woman to enter the UFC, if that means anything. It
doesn't.
Yeah, so, this is a strange fight to break down. Whitmire isn't exactly impressive. Having said that, in her last fight against Jamie Moyle, she looked pretty good against Jamie. This is really just like a pick'em, really, because Whitmire really isn't impressive. But if she comes out like she did against Jamie Moyle, we could see Whitmire win this. Having said that, Alexandra isn't exactly a wrestler like Jamie Moyle. So I'm seeing basically a stand-up battle between these two women. It's a tough pick because it's a, who the fuck knows kind of fight. Bit weird, to start the card like this, but I'll stick with the Russian. I'll take the Russian to get her third victory in the octagon in 4 years. So, yeah, I'll take Albu via decision.
Fair enough. I will be breaking down Miss Emily Whitmire. She's 3-2 with 3 decision wins. Her boyfriend's Johnny Cage, former lightweight UFC fighter. Let's see, what about her actual skills in the octagon, you ask? She's shown some decent signs in the octagon, as you mentioned, with the Moyle fight, where she had a pretty solid performance. She also showed she kind of focused because Vinny Magalhaes, one of her coaches from The Ultimate Fighter, ended up coaching Moyle, one of her teammates from The Ultimate Fighter, after he said he hadn't. So she ended up being able to focus, that showed, but also she was knocked out by Roxanne Modafferi on the show. So just imagine being knocked out by Roxanne Modafferi, but that was at flyweight. So this one is at strawweight here. So Emily, she'll have the reach advantage, she'll have the frame, she'll be the bigger, but probably not the stronger in there, but she'll be the longer fighter. So this is a real pick'em. And I just kind of see Emily having a little trouble with the aggressiveness of Albu. And I think Albu will just do enough to get a 29-28 decision, but it'll be close. And if Whitmire won, I wouldn't be exactly shocked. But I'll take Albu. Just, I think she's physically more strong, more impressive fighter. So
fair play.
We'll agree.
And what are the odds for these two women?
Minus 165 for Alexandra Albu, coming back at plus 160 for Emily Whitmire. So,
okay, seems fair. She's had a long time to prepare. So,
yeah, and I'm actually finding Albu on some sites such as Bovada at minus 200.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah,
probably worth putting like $5 or $10 on Whitmire, considering how well she done against Jamie Moyle, and considering Albu is inactive. But yeah, I'll take Albu in this one.
All right, fair enough. I don't think we have too much we got to say about that one.
Yep, let's move on. Okay, so Renan Barao versus Luque Sanders, and I'll be breaking down Renan Barao. Okay, so he comes into this fight 8-6 inside the UFC. What can you really say at this point for Renan Barao? He used to be the bantamweight champion. Now, you know, you could say he's the champion of failure. As bad as that sounds, yeah, I'm straight in on him. He's won 1 fight in his last 6. So, you know, that shows you how hard USADA has hit Renan Barao. The question is Luke Sanders good enough to beat a really bad Renan Barao? I don't know. Because Luke Sanders, once again, you know, a bit like Whitmire, he's not exactly impressive. I think Soccer Mum even dropped him at one point, which is embarrassing.
Salcon Camp. Please call him Salcon Camp. It was only funny the first time you called him Soccer Mom. Or the first time I called him Soccer Mom. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Soccer Mum put him down. You know, Renan Barao, his gas tank, you know, we've seen it in the last few fights. It's just horrible. Against Andre Yule, you know, first round nearly had Yule finished in a submission. Round 2 and 3, just, you know, just getting jabbed, you know, just getting beat on the movement. His shots are just terrible after the first round. But yeah, the question remains, is Luke Sanders good enough to beat a really bad Renan Barao? I'm going to say I don't know, but I have to make a prediction, and I'm going to take Luke Sanders because I vowed to myself never to pick Renan Barao ever again after his last loss. And I said that before his last loss, so now I'm definitely sticking with it. I'm going to take Luke Sanders to win a very close decision.
All right. Fair enough. I will be breaking down Mr. Luke Cool Hand Saunders. He is 12-3 overall with 6 TKOs. He is 2-3 in his UFC career, coming off a quick heel hook loss to Rani Yahya in about a minute. And yeah, he's been a pretty average fighter so far in the octagon. One thing I can say is he's shown he can beat a big bantamweight in Patrick Williams, who Patrick Williams is even bigger than Barao will be coming down from featherweight. So the size shouldn't be too much of a factor for Sanders. And tactically, that's like pretty much the only place where I think Sanders can get beat here. And I think if Barao has a good weight cut, which I haven't seen since USADA's been around.
Exactly.
It's his fight to lose, but I don't see him having the great cut. But I also think that if he can't beat Luke Sanders, he really has a lot to worry about. And honestly, whoever loses this fight has a lot to worry about, in my opinion. So I don't know. I just can't pick Luke Sanders.
I feel ya.
And I just am not sure he's UFC caliber. And his best win is Patrick Williams, who I'm not sure exactly is a great UFC guy. So I'm going to go with Barao to get a decision here. But if Saunders wins it, it's not going to shock me at all. And if Barao loses here, if he's not cut, I really am done picking him if he can't beat Luke Saunders. But I'm going to say Barao's able to, you know, maybe he even misses weight by a few pounds. So he comes out like 139 or something. Just like I couldn't cut weight. And then Saunders is like, I'll fight him still. Yeah. So I'll take Luke Saunders to get the win here.
Renan Barao? Oh, Luke Saunders.
No, Renan Barao. Sorry. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign for my pick, is it?
Both guys, you know, not impressive.
It's not one I'm going to lose sleep over if I'm wrong, for sure. So we are moving on to the next fight, unless you have anything left.
The odds. What's Renan's odds here?
Oh, I'm sorry. The odds are currently Renan Barao is the underdog at plus 150. Luke Saunders coming back at minus 185. It opened at plus 100 and minus 140 for Saunders. So the money has shifted slightly towards Saunders. So
yeah, I feel like minus 180 is a little too much for Luke Saunders because he's not impressive. So, you know, maybe like a minus like 160 would be or like a minus
Yeah.
150 or something like that. Yeah.
But I mean, I'll pick Barao, but
and how are you taking Barao?
And I'll take Barao for I said a decision.
Decision. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take him for a decision. It's just, I mean, he went 20 some odd fights in a row before he lost.
Yeah, he was king.
And he's 1-6. I mean, performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah, they do things.
They really do enhance that performance. Speaking of which, we have another fighter coming back from a performance enhancing drug suspension in Jessica Penne. Yes. She is fighting Jodie Esquibel at 115 here, and that is our next fight here on the card. I will be breaking down the 36-year-old Jessica Penne. So she is 12-5 with 2 TKOs, 7 submissions. So she was a grappler before she came into the octagon. Kind of was a grappler in the octagon, although not too successful, really. She's 1-3 in the UFC with 2 pretty bad TKOs against Andrade and Joanna Champion. Jędrzejczyk. Sorry, she's not champion anymore. And decision loss in April of 2017 to Danielle Taylor, which that was her last fight before she failed the PED test. Now she's returning at 36 for this random fight against Jodie Esquibel. I really don't have many expectations for either of these fighters, to be honest with you. Someone I think has to win here, and I'll take Penne to lose a decision. I just think she's taken too much damage. She's been out of the game, and I'll take Jodie Esquibel to win a decision.
Nice.
It's kind of a guess.
Nice. Okay. So Jodie Esquibel comes into this fight 0-2 inside the UFC. Both losses coming to Carolina and Jessica Aguilar. She previously fought in Invicta, where she went 4-2. And she actually fought at 105 in Invicta. So, you know,
she's Jessica Penne.
Yeah, she's not a big 115 girl. She's primarily a boxer who has trouble grappling. If you look at her last fight against Jessica Aguilar, just 15 minutes of being grappled, being taken down. Just, you know, really dirty fight. If Jessica can do that and just make it dirty and just put her up against the fence and grapple, you know, we're going to see that kind of decision again. But yeah, Jessica Aguilar, you know, she's pretty legit when it comes to, you know, making fights dirty. So yeah, this is another one of those fights where it's like, why am I even watching this? But, you know, we love the sport, and whatever fight it is, we're going to watch it and break it down. But yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. I'm going to say Jodie gets her first win in the octagon.
Yeah.
But having said that, you know, if she gets grappled, if it looks anything like Jessica Aguilar, we're going to see that disappointing loss again. But yeah, I will say she's going to win this one. You know, crisp boxing, nice boxing. So yeah, I'll take a close decision win here for Jodie.
Yeah, and it's a fun fact. In Jessica Penne's 4 fights in the octagon, she was the underdog in all 4, and this is her first fight as a favorite.
Wow.
So after a 2-year layoff, she's coming back as the favorite. I get she's fighting a 0-2 fighter, but still, Penne, she's a minus 165 favorite. Jodie Esquibel coming back at plus 135. I just think that Esquibel is going to be able to kind of maintain a high striking rate and get a decision. But both these female fights at the bottom of this card, I'm pretty unimpressed with, I'll be honest.
Yeah, they are like literally who the fuck no fights.
It's really, yeah, it really is, you know, pretty tough. So we are moving on to is this 155 now?
Yes, 155. That's Scott Holtzman versus Nick Lentz. I'll be breaking down Scott. Okay, so comes into this fight 5-2 inside the UFC. And for some reason, I thought that Scott Holtzman was just a bang average guy in the UFC. And I would have said that was like a fair opinion to have until we saw his last performance against, what's his name? Alan Patrick. Oh, man. That was just so impressive. Like, when you think of Scott Holtzman, you think, kind of, a bit of a grinder. He's going to wrestle you, probably eat some shots, but, if he wins a decision, it's probably down to wrestling. But no, that's not the case in his last fight. He just, destroyed Alan Patrick. On the feet, I think he got a few takedowns himself, but his hands looked beautiful. Tagging Patrick, every 40 seconds at least. So yeah, this is another kind of tough fight to break down because Nick Lentz is a grinder as well. But, we thought Scott Holtzman was like a average grinder, but apparently in his last fight he's turned into much more. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Scott Holtzman on this one. Just because, when I think a guy's pretty bang average and he does something and proves me so massively wrong in his last fight, I feel like, it's going to be kind of disrespectful to just kind of assume Scott Holtzman is still that guy I thought he was. So I'm going to assume here Scott Holtzman steps into the octagon and he just gets back to where his last fight was. So I'm going to take Scott Holtzman to score more on the feet, get a few takedowns like he does, and win a decision. Actually, no, because of his last performance, I'm going to take a TKO finish in round 2 for Scott Holtzman.
Okay. All right. Well, we got your Austin Arnett of this card, and his name is Scott Holtzman. I will be breaking down Nick the Carney Lentz. Comes into this fight 29-9 with 8 TKOs and 11 submissions. 13-6 in the UFC, which I was pretty impressed to see. He's got 13 wins, although many of them over guys who you kind of go, huh? Who? And I'm a guy who watches a lot of fights. But he does have back-to-back wins coming over Will Brooks and Gray Maynard, and those are probably 2 of his best. So that kind of says something about the level of competition he has beat. But he's bounced back and forth between 145 and 55. I do think he's much more suited at 55, even though he's a little bit short at 5'8". I think with his style, his boxing, he gets in on the inside and leads some more grappling anyways. And as a solid grappler, I think he's really has been adding to his stand-up over time. So I think with Holtzman, he's going to look to grapple some more. I think I did pick Patrick over Holtzman as well. I was expecting Holtzman to be a little bit athletically overwhelmed. That's not exactly what I expect here. I think Lentz is just going to kind of outcraft him a little bit, and I think Lentz may not get the finish, but I see Lentz being able to ground him and kind of control where the fight takes place and getting a decision. So we're going to disagree here.
Fair play.
For our second disagreement, I'm going to take Nick the Carney Lentz.
And what are the odds?
The odds are with Scott Holtzman. He is the minus 185 favorite.
Yeah, that's a little too much. If
Nick
you
Lentz
said like
plus
minus
150.
140, I would have been down for that, but minus 180, I can see why though, man. His last performance was really nice. So
Yeah,
if we
and
see the same Scott, that minus 180, well deserved.
Yeah, and Lentz, interestingly enough, Lentz is only 2-4 as an underdog, while Scott Holtzman is 4-1 as a favorite. So Scott Holtzman, this is going to be his 6th fight in the UFC out of 8 in which he's the favorite, out of 9 in which he's the favorite.
That's
So
fair play.
6 out of 8 where he's the favorite. So and he's won 4 of them now. So yeah, I think that it's closer to pick 'em, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
for sure. Because we don't know what Scott we're going to get. If it's the Scott of last fight, then wow. But if it's the same old Scott before that, then, I'd still say it's, a pick 'em, to be fair.
Yeah, it's when you get in this area of the division with Nick Lentz, I think it's pretty close to pick 'em about every time. He just fights that kind of style.
Very gritty.
But we're Yeah, we're moving on. I don't have much else to say about that fight.
Nope.
I don't think it's gonna be fight of the night. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're moving on to a female fight that actually makes a little bit of sense for once.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Ashley Rebel Girl Evans Smith facing off against Andrea Lee. Is it Andrea Lee?
Andrea KGB Lee.
KGB Lee. Okay. And I will be breaking down Miss Ashley Evans Smith. She is and this fight's taking place at 125.
Yes, correct.
Yep. She is a big 125er. Mm-hmm. She is 6-3 with 3 TKOs and 3-3 in the UFC, with her 3 toughest opponents being Marias, Raquel Pennington, and Caitlin Vieira, and she lost all 3 of those. She lost all 3 of those fights.
Mm-hmm.
Her best win coming a decision win over Beck Rawlings, who now fights in bare knuckle boxing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Evans, she was big at 135, and now she's even bigger at 125. Her technique, especially on the ground, though, is just not always there. And she's been finished there before. Lee has definitely shown a comfort in the clinch and going to the sub. Mm-hmm. And I see her being pretty aggressive and getting the fight there. I think she's got pretty good size for the division as well. And I think that all Smith can hope to do is really use her size and strength and try to keep the fight dirty. But I don't like that type of style or matchup against Lee here. And I think Lee's going to be willing to get in there. And I see Lee taking a second round submission.
Nice. Okay, so Andrea KGB Lee comes into this fight 1-0 inside the UFC. That win came over Veronica Macedo, which was a very dominant decision win. Lee's 9-2 as a pro. She has losses to Caitlin Chikagian and Modafferi, but that was way back in the day, like 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. She has lost to 3 other girls as well, but once again, way back in the day, like 2013, 2014 days. So yeah, since then, massive improvements. Just like you were saying, her Muay Thai is beautiful. Her footwork is beautiful. She has submissions. Her leg kicks are beautiful. Everything. She was supposed to fight Jessica Rose Clark, and I believe me and you both, we was going to take Jessica Rose Clark in that fight, I believe. I feel like I'm contradicting myself now a little bit, now that I'm not taking Evan Smith. But I was at her last fight, which was in New York against Beck Rawlings. And yeah, she looked okay, but Beck Rawlings, she landed some shots. And I just think, you know, if Beck Rawlings is landing shots, Andrea Lee has such better movement than Beck Rawlings. I just see in this being like a masterclass performance from Andrea. But yeah, like I said, her footwork, her Muay Thai, all of it's just beautiful. Yeah, we're going to agree. I'm going to take Andrea Lee. I don't know how, though. I think I'm going to stick with a decision. I was going to take the submission, but I don't know. I just feel like she's going to be on her bike scoring for 15 minutes. So I'll take Lee via dominant decision here.
Yeah, I just think sometimes that Evan Smith really puts herself positionally in some bad spots, both in the clinch and on the ground, and kind of over-relies on her physical structure and whatnot. So the odds are with Lee here at -190, which I am totally okay with.
Yeah,
Evan Smith coming at +155. I think that she'll just have a little more urgency looking for the finish after having a dominant decision in which I think she could have possibly finished if she pushed it a little more even. So we shall see. But we are moving on to the next fight, one of my favorite fights of the night at 135 between Benito Lopez and Manny, the Bermudez Triangle Bermudez. I will be breaking down Benito Lopez, the Team Alpha Male product, 24 years old, and also Dana White Contender Series winner, although by split decision. So Nothing wrong with that, but, still Dana White Contender Series winner. He is 9-0 overall with 2 TKOs and 3 submissions. 1-0 in the UFC with a decision win over Albert Morales in December of 2017 in a pretty average fight, if I'm being honest. Benito definitely came in with a little bit of hype, and that hype was definitely slowed. But that was in December of 2017, so not sure why he was out
quite well. I don't know why, but I do.
Yep. Yeah. I remember being pretty excited about Lopez, and a little bit less after the fight. And not sure why he's been out for over a year, but he is still only 24, so we'll see how the rest benefits. He seems like he has a pretty well-rounded game for the most part, and I'm hoping that he looks a little more comfortable in his sophomore effort here, but he's going to have to look for a stand-up war here if he wants a chance to win. Bermudez is really good. I'll let you break him down, but I am a huge fan of that guy at 135. Him and Ricky Simone are 2 of the true prospects at bantamweight right now. And Bermudez is I just think too good on the ground and good enough on the feet, and I think he's going to take Bermudez and sub him. And I think he's going to sub him within the first 2 rounds. I'm going to say round 1 submission for Manny Bermudez.
Nice. Okay, so Manny Bermudez comes into this fight 2-0 inside the UFC. He's 13-0 as a pro. 10 of those wins coming by submission. Like I said, only 2-0 in the UFC. So, short career so far, so we can look at both of his fights. He has also fought Albert Morales, which was his debut. Really nice performance. I believe I actually took Albert Morales in that fight. I don't know why. But yeah, really nice performance. Got it done, triangle choke. And I was at Manny Bermudez last fight in Germany, which was against Davy Grant, who's from the UK. I'm from the UK. So, if Davy Grant won that, I would have been, kind of happy. I did have Bermudez in a bet, though, so I'm happy either way. So, yeah, really nice performance. Choked out Davy Grant within a minute. That wasn't what was special, that fight, though. Manny Bermudez dropped Davy Grant real quick, and it looked real slick. It looked beautiful. So, once again, we see a guy debut, nice performance. You're a jiu-jitsu guy. Oh, that's cool. And then we see him drop a guy in the next fight. So, once again, already we're seeing this guy progress. We're seeing improvements already. Manny Bermudez would say, I was capable of that before the fight. You should have known that. But every single fighter will say that. Manny Bermudez looked great. He's looked nothing but impressive in, all of his fights. Benito Lopez, he's pretty decent too. Quite flashy on the feet. But yeah, we're going to have to stick with Manny Bermudez on this one. And I'm going to take a round 2 submission. I'm going to assume that Benito Lopez is good enough for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to assume there's a triangle choke in round 2 for Manny Bermudez.
Yeah, and these guys are 2 of the younger guys, both 24 years old. So definitely 2 of the 2 potential prospects here. Definite prospect in Manny Bermudez. He is the favorite at -260. Benito Lopez coming back at +200. It opened at -305 for Bermudez.
Yeah, that's a little crazy. That's a little crazy. -260.
-260.
So there's a big train coming through.
A little bit of a hype train coming here. So I'm okay with it, honestly. I really don't see. I just don't see Lopez being able to take the ground game that Bermudez has to offer here.
Yep, it's fair. It's as fair as you can get. +200 for Benito Lopez. That's, once again, definitely worth at least a $10 bill.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to Jimmy El Terra Rivera versus Aljamain Funkmaster Sterling. And I'll be breaking down Aljamain Sterling. I think I said like last podcast, the podcast before, I don't like Aljamain Sterling. I don't know why it is. I think I said it was because I always hear what's his name, Matt Serra in his corner. Just, oh man, why is Matt Serra so good? Like he just shouts out instructions, and it's like, oh man, like I hate Aljamain Sterling, man. If I've got a bet against him, he just. Anytime I hear Matt Serra, he says, hey, parlay, fuck you. Like, every time. Anyway, so Aljamain Sterling comes into this fight 8-3 inside the UFC. His most notable wins come over Johnny Eduardo, Renan Barao, Brett Johns, and Cody Stamann.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, you like that. I bet on Cody that night, and there you go, Aljamain Sterling. Whatever. He's lost to Brian Caraway, Rafael Asuncao, and Marlon Moraes. So, fair losses. Two of those losses I was fine with. They were split losses. The loss to Marlon Moraes was brutal. To receive a knee to the face like that, he couldn't have eaten that knee any harder. It was just, oh man, the way he fell was just brutal. So yeah, stylistically, this is a good fight. I like this fight. Both guys are very good wrestlers. I feel Aljamain's going to have the advantage on the feet. I feel he has a better frame for the battle on the feet. I feel like Jimmy Rivera's going to get the better of the wrestling, though. And I feel that's just down to strength. I feel like he's going to win more scrambles. Find himself in top position more than Sterling. Yeah, this is another really tough fight to break down because it's, every time I go against Sterling, it bites me. Unless you're Marlon Moraes and I take you, you literally kill Aljamain Sterling. But, Jimmy Rivera, I don't know if he can kill Aljamain Sterling. I feel like, I see Jimmy Rivera winning by, just finding top position more, getting a few more takedowns. But yeah, really close fight. But I'm going to stick with Jimmy Rivera. So if Matt Serra does it to me again and Aljamain does it to me again, I'm fine with it. But I will take Jimmy Rivera by decision.
All right. Well, I can tell you this much. Rivera doesn't kill too many people, and that he has 15 of his 21 wins coming by way of decision. He's moved to, he's 5-1 in the UFC. He was absolutely starched by Marlon Moraes. But before that, he was on quite the winning streak. And yeah, he's a pretty solid boxer. He's not the most flashy guy going against a guy like Sterling, who may put a little more flash into his movements and efforts, but often it leads to him kind of getting taken into awkward positions and ending up losing fights maybe he's not supposed to. And I kind of think this is what's going to happen here. I think he's going to control Sterling with his wrestling, and I think that the only hope Sterling's going to have towards the end is to hope that he gets rocked or gets a miracle submission. Otherwise, I think Rivera's going to win a decision using his wrestling and just maintaining top control for the most part. Mm-hmm. I don't see. It's hard to pick Rivera to win by anything but decision at this point. Mm-hmm. But it just seems to be kind of how he goes. So we will agree. I'll take Jimmy Rivera as well. And he is the favorite at -190.
Okay. That seems a little off again. So -140 or 50 would do, but
so -190 on Bovada. On other sites, I'm seeing -160, 164. So,
that's fair, I guess.
I've seen Sterling anywhere from +135 to a +155 underdog. I just think that Rivera can maintain a little more active striking and use his wrestling, although Sterling's not a bad wrestler. So If Sterling goes on the aggressive with the wrestling and gets Rivera onto his back, we could be seeing a decision for Sterling. But
it's a tough fight to break down. It's a really good fight. I like it.
Yeah, I see it going 15 minutes, though. It's definitely one day I have a hard time seeing either guy finish the other.
Fair play. Okay, so moving on to Andre Touchy Fili versus Myles Fury Jury. Okay,
weird
so
fight.
That is a weird fight. Andre Fili comes into this fight 6-5 inside the UFC. So, bit of a yo-yo fighter. Wins one, loses one. Wins one, loses one. So on, so on. His most notable wins came over Gabriel Benitez. Who else? Artem Lobov. And against Dennis Bermudez in North Carolina. That's another fight I saw that night. That was a split win for Andre Fili, but wow, I really, really thought it could have gone to Dennis Bermudez. Dennis Bermudez has just been real unlucky on split losses recently. But yeah, this is a strange fight, to be fair. I do think Andre Fili should have got the nod over Michael Johnson in his last fight. So yeah, that's like a bit of a kick in the teeth for Andre Fili to get that split loss. But then again, if you probably should have got the split loss against Dennis Bermudez, I guess it weighs itself out now. Karma and that. But yeah, Andre Fili is pretty flashy. Good leg kicks, good movement. Training out a Team Alpha Male with Uriah Faber, Cody Garbrandt and all that. So yeah, this is a strange one. But I do like Andre Fili. I did take him against Dennis Bermudez. I did take him against Michael Johnson. I do pick Andre Fili quite a lot, and I'm probably going to pick him again here. I just like his style. I like his movement. I like what he's doing out of Team Alpha Male. So yeah, I'll take Andre Fili here. I'm taking quite a lot of decisions on this card, but I'm going to take Andre Fili by decision.
Okay, fair enough. I will be breaking down Myles Fury Jury. 17-3 with 8 TKOs and 5 submissions in those wins. He is 8-3 in the UFC. He's got wins over Michael Johnson, Diego Sanchez, and Rick Glenn being the most notable of those 8 wins. And his losses came to Donald Cerrone, which really was an ass whooping literally by the end. Charles Oliveira by submission, and Chad Mendes, who starched him in under 4 minutes. And Chad Mendes' return to 145, which then he went on to lose to Volkanovski and I believe retire, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, but I mean, Mendes did really look good. But Myles, he's had a solid career and definitely has a complete MMA game, but when he's outclassed, it really shows. All 3 of his losses, I mean, he never had much of a chance in any of those 3 fights. And those were to some of the best in the division. And I wouldn't say that Andre Fili is anywhere near that. He is entertaining, but I think you like Andre Fili a lot more than I do.
Yeah, I feel that.
And honestly, I looked for Myles Fury here or Myles Jury, use kind of his full MMA game. I think maybe even lean more on his wrestling than he has in previous fights here. And I think this is a really good fight for Myles to rebound from some kind of tough fights. 3 of the last 5 have been losses, but I think he's going to rebound. I think he holds his own on his feet. And I like Jury to land some nice ground and pound and get a submission in round 2.
Nice. And what are the odds?
The odds are, let's see, they are with Myles Jury. He's the magic number again, -190.
You're joking me. No way.
No, -190 plus 155 for Andre Fili.
That's crazy. Okay, I'm all over that. Even if I'm wrong, I'm all over that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I think you're really underestimating Myles Jury. Myles Jury only loses to the elite of the elite, and when this kid's a favorite, he delivers. And his 8 fights he's been a favorite in the UFC, he's won 7 of those. So,
fair enough. Okay.
But then again, Andre Fili as an underdog is 2-0 in the UFC. So,
Yeah. Team Alpha Male, bro. We're coming through.
well, yeah, Ishihara looked really good at that last fight against Wayne Kohang. So, and
Okay.
Benito Lopez earlier in the fight against Bermudez is going to look really strong too, I'm sure, for Alpha Male. But we'll see. But yeah, I think it could be a good one. But I think as much as you're overestimating Mr. Fili, I think you may be underestimating Mr. Jury. But
Maybe.
we will see. We'll see. That's now one I'm suddenly a lot more interested in. That's, I believe, our third disagreement of the night as well.
Yes. I predicted 4 before this podcast. So.
Okay, so I'm about to be slicing that lead down or building it back up for you. We'll see. But
let's move
we're
on.
leading into the next fight, which is at 170. That's between Vicente Luque and Brian Barberena. I love both these fighters for very different reasons. So this is a good one, though. I will be breaking down Mr. Luque, the silent assassin. 14-6 in his career with 70 KOs and 6 submissions. So you always like to see those nice, well-rounded finishing numbers. 7-2 in the UFC, and he's on a 3-fight finishing streak. He submitted Nico Price in a fight. I picked Nico Price. He KO'd Chad Laprise in a fight. I picked Luque, and he KO'd Jalen Turner on short notice in a fight in which Turner stepped up to 170. But in Luque's all fairness, Luque just absolutely starched him.
Yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah, I've really been impressed by this guy's progression. He's got absolutely legit power, really dangerous submissions. When he came into UFC, that's more what I kind of was worried about was his submission game. But then he put out Bilal Muhammad in 1:19. And, I mean, if you know anything about Muhammad, that dude is tough. He's got a giant head that can take a lot of punches, and Luque just put him right out. And definitely he did slip up and let a decision go after that, but I honestly think he's gotten more and more confident on his feet, and for good reason. But part of me just hopes he hasn't forgotten about his jiu-jitsu game. And Barberena, he's always a tough guy, and it's always tough to pick against him. But I've got to pick Luque here, and I think it's going to be. I also feel like I picked a lot of decisions, but I'm going to actually give Barberena's toughness a little credit here and say he makes it to the end of the 15. But I'm going to say that Luque wins the decision pretty handily. I'm just not sure how Barberena is able to win this fight.
Nice. Okay, so Brian Barberena comes into this fight 5-3. Inside the UFC. His most notable wins coming over Sage Northcutt, Wally Alves, and he's beat both the Ellenberger brothers the same way, I believe, ground and pound, which is kind of weird.
Ellenberger killer.
His losses came to Chad Laprise, which is embarrassing, and Colby Covington and Leon Edwards. So, you know, those two respectable, but you're losing to Chad Laprise, that's not a good sign.
No.
So, yeah. Where do we start with Brian? How does he win this fight? I think he has to make it dirty. I think he has to grapple, put Vicente up against the fence. You know, a real Jessica Aguilar performance. You know, just make it real dirty. Don't get taken down. I feel like Vicente could sub him if Brian does take him down. It's a strange fight, man. It's a strange fight because I feel like Vicente can also knock out Brian Barberena. Like, you see in his last fight against Jalen Turner, that was just so clean and so beautiful. So, yeah, it's a weird fight. Could Brian Barberena win a decision? I don't think so. I mean, you know, you're going to have to make the fight dirty for 15 minutes and win a decision like that, but Vicente can grapple too, so, you know, I feel like this is definitely a finish, and I'm going to give it to Vicente. I've just been impressed, progression all the time, so yeah, I'm going to take Vicente, and I'm going to say this is over in round 1. I'm going to take Vicente with a TKO in round 1.
All right. Vicente is indeed the favorite, minus 375.
Yep, that seems fair.
So
I'm with that.
The odds makers are not being shy about this event so far. I mean, one thing I could say is sometimes that Luque is kind of a little bit of a headhunter on the feet. So I think Barberena, if he'd be smart to, choose to make this a dirty fight, but also really increase the amount of volume on his strikes. So, but I think that's really the only chance he has. I don't think taking down a black belt in Luque would be smart.
It's an agreement.
Props to Brian, but yeah, I think this is going to be a tough one for him. So we'll move on here.
Okay, so Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres versus Kron Gracie, and I'll be breaking down Alex Caceres. Okay, so comes into this fight 11 wins and 10 losses inside the UFC. So it's fair to say that Alex Caceres is a gatekeeper. He's lucky he's got such an entertaining style. But yeah, 11 wins, 10 losses. The most impressive thing is Alex Caceres has been in the UFC for 10 years, and he's still here with a record like that. His most notable win came over Sergio Pettis, which is, an impressive win, but if that's your only impressive win in 10 years, how are you still here? And we know how he's still here. He rocks up on the China cards, he rocks up on Australia every now and then, and, he's going to fight these cans and put on a beautiful performance with, his style. But if he's facing anyone who's half decent, he's pretty much going to lose. I will be honest, I kind of want to pick him just because I feel, that head kick, Kron Gracie could be, closing the distance, trying to grapple, and that head kick could just land on a jiu-jitsu guy who, isn't really used to fighting this way. Having said that, Kron Gracie has won 51 jiu-jitsu contests in a row, which is just unbelievable. 51 in a row. So yeah, I'm going to assume he closes distance. Alex Caceres has a long leg, so he's gonna clamp onto that, and it's going to be pretty much over in round 1, I'm assuming. So I'm going to take Kron Gracie to get a win here in his debut via submission in round number 1.
Okay. I will be breaking down Kron Gracie, the son of Rickson Gracie. He is 4-0 with his last win and fight coming in 2016. It was against Kawajiri in Japan, but he did beat both Kawajiri and Tokoro and Ryzen, and he submitted both of them. So those would be his two most impressive of his 4 wins. He really looked to have some pretty good stand-up in there. He and had good composure, really looked comfortable inside the ring, which it was inside a ring, I believe. Most of his fights, not inside a cage, but he's a BJJ black belt. That's where he's going to win this fight. I think that Alex would be smart to keep this on the feet, obviously, and if he can, I think Alex has a complete chance. And in fact, I'd see Alex winning a decision if he keeps on the feet. But I think Kron is smart enough and good enough to get this down to the ground. He's been training with the Diaz brothers and Cesar Gracie, so Melendez and others. So, and his brother Neiman has been doing pretty well over in Bellator. He just beat Ed Ruth in the Bellator welterweight Grand Prix quarterfinals. So more people were actually talking about Kron Gracie back a couple years ago. So he's maintained a good activity on the BJJ circuit, and I think he's going to submit the Clown and Leroy. Bruce Leroy, and yeah, the odds certainly agree at minus 350 for Kron Gracie. So
yeah, I guess that's fair. Minus 350.
It's hard to say that for a guy who's been fighting almost 3 years.
Yeah, I feel you. You know, he is a jiu-jitsu guy, and Caceres definitely can just catch him with a crazy kick.
Yeah, I mean, Caceres is a veteran, and those odds make me think about it a little bit more, for sure. But yeah, I can't exactly pick it. The last Gracie, I believe, who was in the UFC was Roger Gracie at 185, and he fought Tim Kennedy and got cut.
Yeah.
So Gracie does not equal a UFC win in the 21st century necessarily. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go with Kron to get the submission. I've liked how he has looked in his fights, and seems to have good size for 145. And yeah, it'd be nice to have a Gracie back in the UFC. Mm-hmm. So
like I say, it could be a massive upset, or it could just go down the way me and you just broke down. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, we're going to agree there on a round 1 sub. And that takes us off into Courtney Casey versus Cynthia Calvillo. And I'll let you take it away with the shark.
All right, Miss Cynthia Calvillo, the 7-1, 115 strawweight, 2 TKOs and 3 submissions in those 7 wins. She definitely came back nicely after her first career loss to Carla Esparza, which was a close one for sure. Mm-hmm. But she put away Pauliana Bontello, by first round submission. And Cynthia's grappling is definitely legit. It's where she'll excel in this fight. It's where she's going to excel in most fights, other than kind of that Carla Esparza fight a little bit, although she had her moments. And Casey's definitely going to want to mix it up on the feet, and I think Cynthia would be wise to not engage in a firefight for most of the fight. If most of the fight's on the feet, I think that Casey's going to squeak out a decision, but I think Calvillo will get Casey down, and when she does, she's eventually going to attack the submission. And I actually really, really believe in Calvillo's jiu-jitsu. I could see her pulling guard even to get an armbar, a triangle, or submission. She is just that confident in her grappling, and I think she's going to surprise Casey and get a first-round submission.
Nice.
It's not an easy thing to do to put away Courtney Casey, but I think Calvillo is just, like you said, a shark on the ground. She's going to snatch up an arm or get a choke.
Fair play. Okay, so Courtney Casey comes into this fight 4-5 inside the UFC. You know, bit of a trashy record. She's definitely better than 4-5. Her most notable wins came over Randa Marcos, Jessica Aguilar, and Angela Hill. So, you know, not too impressive. I feel like Courtney Casey has fought, like, legit high-level competition now for a good, you know, 4 or 5 years. She's lost to real good competition. This is a really tough fight, man. I feel like this card's a bit strange with some of the fights on here, but I feel at the same time they're really tough to break down. This isn't a strange fight. This is definitely, you know, an interesting fight. It definitely means something for the division. But yeah, this is a tough one to break down, man, because Cynthia Calvillo, like you said, she's definitely talented when it comes to grappling. You know, if you're on the mat with her, I believe after her Scotland performance against Calderwood, she said, the mat is my ocean and I am the shark, or some weird stuff like that, but it stuck with me. Yeah, I really
She smokes a lot of weed.
Yeah, I really like Cynthia Calvillo. I think she's dope, man. I think her skills in the octagon are legit. Her stand-up, I don't know if I can say if it's improving. You know, it was definitely there in her last fight. I just feel Courtney Casey matches up very well against Cynthia Calvillo. And Courtney Casey has been on the wrong end of split decisions. So she's been unlucky as well. It's a really tough one. I don't want to pick against Cynthia Calvillo. At the same time, I just think Courtney Casey does match up well here.
Ooh.
So yeah, this is going to be our fourth disagreement.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to take Courtney Casey to
Wow.
hopefully be on the end of the right end of a split decision.
Interesting. Well, the odds are definitely with me. Cynthia Calvillo is the minus 280 favorite, minus 300 I'm seeing other places.
Jeez.
Casey at plus 220 to plus 250, depending on where you're going. So
yeah,
get your bets in there.
Once again, I mean, like I said, I really agree. She is talented when it comes to grappling, and you know her jiu-jitsu on the ground is no joke. But minus 285 upwards to 3, wow.
Yeah, I mean, and Calvillo also has had weight cut issues in previous fights. So
yeah, well, it was her lady week last time. You know, she had an excuse. So,
well, you know, hopefully everything's all cleared up this time for her. My lady week was last week. So
mine was too as well. Was that Brazil? Mine was too.
Yeah. Enough about me. We're I believe what the ladies say is syncing up.
Yeah,
so,
Brazil, you know, brings us together.
We're going to move on to the co-main event now at 155 between James, the Texecutioner, Vick, and Paul, the Irish Dragon Felder. I will be breaking down the Texecutioner, who has woken up from his slumber finally. 13-2 overall. James is coming off a brutal KO in about a minute 30 to Justin Gaethje. One of our first fight cards we broke down, where he just didn't show up to the fight. He's blamed it on the weight cut, said he had the worst weight cut of his career, blah, 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 blah. Yet he's still fighting at the same weight cut class, and he's still 6'3". So still going to be a tough weight cut. Also, it's not the first time an overhand right has starched him. It's actually the second. Beneil Dariush also did the same thing to him. So not sure if that was also a bad weight cut. But anyways, his stand-up overall, his boxing is excellent. Has some pretty good kicks. Has some long arms he uses for some unique chokes for sure. Yeah, he's 6'3", and when he makes it down to 155, that frame is a real problem for a lot of fighters. And I definitely think this is a crossroads fight for both of these fighters. This is a super important fight. Whoever wins this fight still has relevance. Whoever loses this fight, I'm not sure what they do with their career at this point. So I think this is some really good matchmaking here. And I just got a feeling that Vick is going to rebound here. I think that he's going to get a decision, and I think it's going to be mostly a stand-up war. But I think Vick's just going to be able to use his frame, really work behind the jab, and use his boxing to touch Felder up a little bit. And I think he's going to win a decision. So I'll take James by decision.
Nice. Okay, so Paul Felder comes into this fight 7-4 inside the UFC. 4 of those 7 wins have been underdog wins for Paul Felder. So it's fair to say he's written off a bit. So taking a look at his last 3 fights, we'll start at Stevie Ray. Paul Felder rocked up in Scotland. I believe he actually went in a plus 110 or plus 120 against Stevie Ray. Demolished him, literally demolished him. And then he fought the Bronx, where I think that was evens, or it was like a plus 120 for Paul Felder. Same thing again. Demolished the Bronx. That ground and pound was brutal. And now we're at his last fight, which was at 170 against Mike Perry, where, you know, that was a lovely war. Nice war. But yeah, it's fair to say Paul Felder is better at 155. So yeah, now we're here against James Vick. How does he win? I think, you know, obviously he could hack down James Vick's leg. Those leg kicks could obviously, you know, slow him down. I feel, you know, James Vick's movement usually is very good. And I agree with you, his frame definitely works more than not. When it doesn't work, it looks a little bit like what Gagey did. You know, that distance, you know, got shut down real quick. And apparently James Vick's movement just completely shut down too at the same time. And that overhand right connected. And, you know, that's when the frame doesn't work. But when it works very nice for James Vick. His movement is beautiful. His boxing, like you said, pretty nice. And his leg kicks with his movement too. Beautiful. So, you know, if Paul Felder wants to hack down James's legs, I definitely see Vick replying with a leg kick or two. Paul Felder could knock out James Vick. He could close the distance and do exactly what Gagey done. He could even take down James Vick a few times. But James Vick has a nice guard too. So, you know, this is another really nice fight. It's a nice co-main. It definitely means something, this fight. But yeah, I don't know where James Vick's head's at. But we're gonna agree. We're gonna agree here. I agree.
Thought we would disagree on this one.
Yeah, you know, it's a really close fight, and I can see, you know, we break down these fights and we always see how the opponent wins, and we see how, you know, the guy we break down wins too. So when we're wrong, you know, it's not like we're wrong, but, you know, you have to pick, so you're wrong. But yeah, I like James's movement. It works more than not. Would I be surprised if the same thing happened against Gagey? No. But yeah, I think he comes back, and I'm actually going to give him a finish. I think he wins the first round, and I think Paul Felder gets a little bit frustrated. And I think James Vick counters and finishes Paul Felder in the second.
Okay. All right. I wouldn't be shocked by that, but anyways, Paul Felder is the favorite at minus 135, so slight favorite here. But plus 105 coming back for Vick here, so it's a slight underdog.
Yeah, that's a pick'em.
Yeah, it's basically a pick'em. It's a really important fight and a pretty solid co-main event. So definitely a good opportunity for both guys. We'll see how Felder comes back from that broken arm as well. So a little less, obviously not as much of a mental hurdle, but still a injury regardless. So
yep, right.
Here we go. Let's break it down.
So we'll save yours. We'll save yours because you're on a roll. So I'll go first.
All right, we're burying the lead. I like it.
Okay, so Francis the Predator Ngannou versus Cain Velasquez. And I'll be breaking down Cain. Okay, so he comes into this fight, this return fight, 12-2 inside the UFC. You know, the heavyweight king is back. 10 of Cain's wins have come by TKO. So, you know, that just shows how good this guy was. He's fought a lot of top-level guys. You know, he had those wars with JDS. You know, he lost one of them, but the second and third one was just, you know, a beatdown pretty much for JDS. What else can I say about Cain at this point? I'm just happy he's back, man. Yeah, fighting out a team, aka, you know, DC, Habib, Rockhold, you know, all those great guys. So, you know, the training's always been there for the time off. So stylistically, I like the fight stylistically because I took Curtis Blades to, in my eyes, when I predicted that fight, I thought Curtis would take him down and there would be a mauling. We didn't see that. I am even more confident that Cain Velasquez will take down Francis Ngannou and maul him. You know, we know how good Cain Velasquez is. His conditioning is top level. His relentlessness is top level. His wrestling is top level. So yeah, I pretty much give Francis Ngannou 1 round. And that's all he needed against Curtis Blades. And that, you know, he could do it in a round again because Cain Velasquez has, you know, what, 2.5 years off. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. But I was confident in Curtis Blades. I can't now just jump ships. You know, I was confident in Stipe beating Francis. That happened. I'm not ready to jump back on to the Francis train. Stylistically, you know, I see Cain Velasquez basically mauling him. So yeah, I give Francis Ngannou 1 round to get it done. If not, I think we're going to see an even more tired Francis Ngannou than we saw against Stipe. I think it's going to be far worse. So yeah, like I said, I give Francis Ngannou 1 round. Having said that, I'm actually going to take Cain Velasquez to get it done in the first round. I think it's going to be very one-sided, and I think it's going to be a terrible, terrible mauling. And I'm going to take Cain Velasquez to get a round 1 TKO ground and pound.
Okay. I will be breaking down Francis the Predator Ngannou. He is now 12-3, 8 TKOs and 4 submissions and 12 wins. So he doesn't win the decisions. For the most part, you know what you're getting with Francis, and it's that he's going to go in there, he's going to try to hit you hard, and there's also the blueprint on how to stop him, and that's been pretty well written at this point. Withstand the first round and take him down and make it dirty. While it's easy to see, it's not always easy to achieve. I think Francis really has started to take a lot of steps since those 2 decision losses in a row to Derek Lewis and Stipe. And I think most of the public counted him out against Curtis Blades. I believe Curtis Blades was a betting favorite. And he showed that if you connect 45 seconds in, it still counts, and they can go down. It was a shot that was pretty similar to the one that JDS landed on Cain in their first fight, actually. Yeah, I really, really want to pick Francis. I really do. And I think that first round is really, really dangerous. And all of the positive accolades you were saying about Cain's cardio and his tenacity and everything, those are all things we knew about Cain in 2016. And some of those things we weren't as sure about when we saw C-level Cain. I didn't see anything too special, and I've never heard so much blame for C-level. Everybody else seemed to have cardio similar to their cardio at other places. So, but Cain is the one exception, I guess. But that's the thing I really got to see, is this still Cain Velasquez? And I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Yeah, I really want to pick Francis. I can't do it. I'm going to have to go with Cain and assume he's even a shell of his former self is enough, I think, to beat Francis Ngannou with the way they match up. So I'm going to take Cain, and I'm going to take him to go all 5 rounds here.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a decision.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, yeah. I think maybe it leads to a corner stoppage between the 3rd and 4th, or 4th and 5th round, maybe. But in which the corner decides to throw in the towel. But I don't see a stoppage within the 5 rounds otherwise.
Okay.
So,
fair play.
Yeah, I think that Cain needs the octagon time. He's been out for a while. And I think he's going to feel pretty comfortable to implement a full MMA plan. So I'm going to have to agree with you with Cain. And if Cain goes out in 1 round, I'm not going to be wondering how that happened, honestly.
Fair play.
So,
and your fight of the night. Actually, before you get into that, what are the odds here for the main event?
Oh, yeah. The odds for this, Cain Velasquez coming in at minus 225. So, plus 175 for Francis. I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah, that seems fair. Yeah, you know, I mean, 2.5 years off.
If this was Cain's second fight back from the comeback, it would be 450.
Yeah, I'm with it. Yeah, minus 220. Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah, so, you know, you got to, I'm really okay with the odds makers feeling that you got to show a little bit here that you're not the Cain who lost to, Verdum. And so we'll see here, but we agree. So overall, weird card here. And I see quite a few decisions, as do you. Could be one of the early cards this year where people are griping a little bit. I saw a little bit of that last week with 234, which I totally felt was a legitimate card, but some people are complaining about. All things considered, losing the main event less than 12 hours before the event, I think that it was a pretty successful event. And we'll be seeing that fight soon anyways. But
And your fight of the night for this card?
My fight of the night, I'll go with performance of the night, definitely for Bermudez against Lopez. Fight of the night. What's your fight of the night?
I'll
say Vick Felder is my fight of the night.
You know what? I was gonna say fight of the night Lopez Bermudez, but then you said performance of the night, and it made sense in my head too. And then I was gonna say fight of the night Vick and Felder, but you know what? That would mean we agree too much, and something weird might happen for us on this fight night. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go Lopez Bermudez fight of the night.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Paul Felder Vick fight of the night, and performance of the night going to Cain Velasquez and Mr. Bermudez.
Nice. Okay, so it's been a nice breakdown. Four disagreements.
Not bad, not bad.
And we're back next week again for the Czech Republic card. So we're going European style, baby.
Oh, I'll be butchering some names on that one. So stay tuned, and thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to put your comments for the breakdown here. We had a little video at the beginning explaining the breakdown. Any questions, feel free to comment or ask any of us. We appreciate the likes, the listens. We're slowly growing. We're over 200 subscribers now. So this little lowly team of two dudes who just played video games together and one day decided to start talking UFC. That's all it really takes. So we appreciate the passion from the fans that we do hear from. We always try to respond, and enjoy the fights, everybody. Thank you so much.
Yep. Peace out, guys. Peace.